And it really reveals something endemic in our media that we've been covering over the last couple of days. That's why I believe in structural racism, actually. But a structural racism, not the way that the left wants to believe it, is structural racism against white people.
Structural racism against white people? What's got Benny Johnson all frustrated? Well, none other than a CNN report about the horrific shooting in Midtown Manhattan. Hi, I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall, and yeah, terrible news happened in New York City on Monday night when an assailant went into a Midtown Manhattan building and killed 4 people, including ultimately taking his own life. What's upset Benny Johnson and many others like him in the MAGA world is CNN's contributor John Miller saying this.
They do not know who he is. They know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses.
Possibly white is the term there that really outraged a lot of people in the MAGA media world, including Charlie Kirk, Alex Jones, Jack Posobiec, and of course, Trump's favorite media sycophant, Benny Johnson.
What do you mean possibly white? What possibly white means is we hope he's white so that we can blame Trump. We're praying, we're begging for him to be wearing a MAGA hat. We're like just begging on our knees for it.
So you can see where the outrage was coming from, right? The idea that they preemptively assigned race when, in fact, as it turns out, the assailant appeared to be a person of color, a black man, perhaps of some Pacific descent as well. And the fact that John Miller and then later Aaron Burnett said that the assailant was possibly white, well, it's not too far to say that what Benny Johnson was claiming was that CNN was trying to create and foment a race war. But the timeline is important here, right? So let's hear how Benny Johnson described events.
This suspect, this individual, this terrorist, this shooter, Shane Tamura, he went walking in here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At like 6:45, this image was shared on the internet.
So he's wrong there. The assailant didn't go in at 6:30, and at 6:45, as far as my research tells me, that image had not yet been shared publicly.
So like instantly, as the event was going on, we saw this image.
I don't see any evidence of where he's getting his timeline from. In fact, it looks like he's getting it remarkably wrong.
And we heard the police scanner in our ear, the New York City police scanner, say, it's a Middle Eastern, maybe Indian guy, because that's what he looks like.
The first timestamp that I could see was around 7:20, shortly after it was released by the authorities. Even Benny Johnson, his timestamp of sharing this was closer to 7:30. So his assertion that this image was out there at 6:45 seems flatly wrong. As for his police scanner information, I don't know where he's getting that from, but given his reckless record of sharing misinformation, there's a decent chance that he just made that up. But again, I don't know the sourcing, so maybe he's dialed into the police scanner.
Yo, it's like, looks like a Middle Eastern guy, maybe. He's wearing a flak jacket. He's got like full arm cover and leg cover. So it's kind of hard to see what he looks like, whatever. That's what people said. That's what the police said. And that's what this image said. And this image was seconds after he started shooting. The whole world could see who this individual, what the description of the suspect was.
So the timeline here is really important because this was a fluid story. And the facts as we now know them is that the assailant entered the building at 6:40. CNN didn't go live with its coverage until 7:22. And John Miller and then Aaron Burnett both said the possibly white comment at 7:31, just after having received this image that went viral or was shared by authorities while the assailant was still on the loose. So this was a description that was shared so that, if someone were to see a description, it could provide some assistance.
It's really important to have the timeline down here because you can show motive given the available information. Now, people lie. People can lie. Again, people can say, "Yo, I thought it was a Middle Eastern guy," but it turns out that whatever. Okay, my heart was pumping, and I saw it, and whatever.
It's really difficult to assign any sort of ethnic or racial profile to that image. You can see how if you're looking for a Middle Eastern person, he looks the part. But you can also see from that blurry image how someone would say he's possibly white.
Why is this important? Well, it's important because if you say the wrong description of the suspect, let's say you have a huge broadcast network that can broadcast into every home in America, and you call yourself the most trusted name in news. If you report that the wrong race of a man is doing the shooting, then you could potentially start a stampede. You could get people killed. You could get innocent people killed.
Benny Johnson's not only playing loose with the facts as we know them, but he's not following any sort of journalistic standards. And yet, he's got the temerity to adjudge CNN.
But lo and behold, given all of the available information, including the witnesses on the police scanner describing this individual as having dark skin and dark hair, CNN described him twice last night as white. Here we go.
They know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses. He appears to have a mustache. And that picture has been distributed to every police officer in New York City.
They do know what he looks like, male, possibly white, mustache, sunglasses, in that building, isolated to, they believe.
Possibly white. Again, possibly is doing a lot of work there. And look, there's room to criticize CNN for the way they covered a live unfolding story. They're not necessarily abiding by journalistic standards by sharing information on background that they haven't yet sourced, but that's the state of cable news right now. And it's not just CNN. Every network who covers live TV, they don't have the time to double check every single thing they heard, especially when they felt that there was safety at issue. And they were trying to identify an individual who was at that time still on the loose. He'd not yet been captured, or as we later learned, he had not yet taken his own life.
Here's an enhanced video, as an enhanced photo of what CNN knew when they were talking. Did you hear that jackass on CNN? He says, according to this photo we've sent to all the cops, he's a white dude.
Okay, that jackass on CNN he just said is John Miller. And he is a former ABC News reporter who sat down with Osama bin Laden in a cave in the 90s. He served as deputy commissioner of the NYPD, and he's as well sourced as anyone in the New York Police Department. Also, the idea that he's some sort of lefty is bizarre. He is about as conservative or moderate conservative as you'll find on anyone on that network. So for Benny Johnson to call him a jackass?
What are you talking about, man? No, he's not. Like our eyes don't lie. Like, people can lie. Our eyes don't lie. This photo doesn't lie. No, he's not. And why this is so egregious, and why it's not just an innocent mistake, is you could get people killed. Then suddenly a white guy comes out of the elevator in the building, gets blasted by cops or whatever. And
there it is. He's afraid that the white people are going to be killed as a result of this possibly white comment during a live fluid report. Benny Johnson's furious, and as a result, he thinks CNN should pay a hefty penalty.
It could really hurt people. You know, it's why CNN really, people should look into stripping their broadcast license. This stuff happens so much. And if it had gone the other way, you know that CNN would have their buildings burned to the ground.
All right, well, CNN doesn't have a broadcast license, right? They're a cable network, right? So the FCC can't remove their broadcast license. But again, facts don't matter for Benny Johnson. He's just sort of a grievance/outrage machine, because that gets clicks.
And it really reveals something endemic in our media that we've been covering over the last couple of days. That's why I believe in structural racism, actually. But a structural racism, not the way that the left wants to believe it, is structural racism against white people.
But what's really at issue here? What's CNN, their real agenda, according to Benny?
But it's worth taking a moment and pausing on this point and asking, you know, are they woke, or do they just hate white people? And then how are you supposed to run a functional society if the corporate press is constantly hammering away at the majority group in this nation and castigating them as the villains?
Structural racism against white people. That's the problem here, guys. I'm not saying that there's structural racism at all, but Benny Johnson took a throwaway line of possibly white to basically say that CNN is fomenting some sort of race war. And guess what he ends up saying, which feels a little race war fomenty on its own.
we're going to get to the new mayor of New York City and what he wants to do to white people, but it's going to make this problem worse, obviously.
They just hate white people. That's it, right? That's got to be it. They just hate white people. But he keeps going.
You know, the villainization of racial groups is how you get the event in Cincinnati. It's how you get the George Floyd riots. All of them are connected, and it all has a specific purpose. You can go back and read Cloward Piven, where all of this stuff comes from, but it's all based on a Marxist critical theory. It's based on using the key it's why you have to hit against it. It's why you have to hit out and strike out against it as hard as you possibly can. It's based on what they see as the strategic weakness of this country, which is the lack of homogeneity. And communists always try and pit groups against each other. And they're able to be successful in places like Russia, obviously, the whites and the reds. In every communist and Marxist movement, they're able to do this. Go read the histories of North Korea or Cuba. This is how it always happens. They always follow this same strategy. It's laid out by Marx quite clearly. Destroy the church, destroy the family unit, destroy all of the things that harmonize society, and then stoke class hatred. Now, whether that class hatred is against, the workers versus the shop owners, or the people versus the king or the queen, the czars, or whether it's hatred of all white people.
Live television during news events is a tricky thing, right? And traditional journalistic standards means you double source before you go live. And that's not a luxury you can afford when live events are breaking in real time. It's a fluid story, and there's room for nuanced criticism and debate about how we cover live events in real time. Is there room for criticism of throwing away possibly white? Sure. But is what Benny Johnson and his other MAGA media bros are suggesting, is it reasonable? Absolutely not. In fact, it's dangerous, because what it does is it's suggesting that there's some deeper agenda that CNN and the liberal media are trying to do to take down the white man and make lives more dangerous. And that, A, is flatly absurd. B, is way less dangerous than the division that Benny Johnson is sowing right there. And candidly, he's a very popular sort of YouTube personality / podcaster, which belies any logic, because the dude's a moron. He doesn't have any standards. He just says whatever comes to mind to get the outrage clicks and to get attention. And yeah, I'm guilty of giving him attention, but right, you gotta fight fire with fire and call bullshit when you see it. And Benny Johnson, you are full of shit. This is a dangerous game he's playing, and sadly, the unregulated internet just allows it not only to exist, but flourish, unless there's someone that's going to call him out like this. Again, I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall. I appreciate you watching. Please click the like and subscribe button for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.